Okay, if it's Monday at 8 o'clock, it must be time for art. Today we're going to be talking about line on our homepage. If you look for 913 and 917 this week, um, we're going to look at the line module. It's real short. And then we're going to talk about Edgar Degas and how Edgar Degas used line in his works of art. And then this week on our Thursday meeting, we are going to do gesture drawing, part one of a drawing we're going to do with gesture drawing. All right, let's take a look at the line module. Again, it's real short. These modules are kind of short and a little abbreviated, to say the least. So, a couple of things. We're not going to be doing all these quizzes that they talk about in each of these modules. I really don't like a lot of what they have in the modules, and as you'll see, we kind of change things up a little bit. But we are going to be studying about line, and lines can represent spaces, places, even people. Used to communicate. Line is the basis of all the other good stuff that we learn about for the most part. All about lines. Lines are an important element of design. Vincent van Gogh is an artist who used lines to emphasize the mood in his paintings. He used layers of lines to create landscapes, still lifes, portraits. Used thick paint that the lines of the paint brushstrokes could also appear. That's part of that impressionist sort of paintings that were done at that time. It's important for artists to be familiar with and use all kinds of different types of line. I like how they highlight landscapes so you can find out that landscapes are about a drawing or something outside for that matter. But it just brings you to the glossary. They don't bother to do that with still lifes and portraits. Um, View an example. Each of these types of lines. Place your mouse with the point line. Oh, thick line. Yeah. Thin line. Curved line. Thank goodness we have this to tell us what a zigzag line looks like. Oh, and a wave. That's not even a wavy line. That looks like a graph of the stock market. Okay, so wavy lines would look like waves. I don't know what they have there. Can you think of any more? Sure, you can. We're going to be talking about crosshatch lines, lines that go in one direction and come back over in another direction. We'll talk about contour lines, lines that follow the outside uh, of an object or a shape. Contour lines show the shape of an object. Um, we'll be looking at implied line. The idea that if you have two shapes next to each other and they may create a small thin space that creates the implied line. Lots of different type of lines we'll talk about. Besides all those ones that you can think of that hopefully anybody can think of. Thick lines and thin lines, of course. All right. Yes, there is a sketchbook assignment there that you can do. You won't be graded on that one. Um, and I'm not going to ask you to submit it, but it is if you don't make lots of examples of of line in your sketchbooks, then you probably aren't sketching. So sketch. You should be sketching all the time. In this lesson, you learned in that little bit, a line is a path, a moving point that travels through space. I just told you that. Well, I don't think we learned that earlier. It can be shown in a variety of ways. Can communicate the gestures of people. Sure, we're going to look at that here in a minute. And so, when we talk about gesture drawings, and that's one of the things we are going to do in this upcoming Thursday, we're going to look at how artists create the implied movement of people, gestures of movements, capture people, even if they're just sitting. You get the gesture of how they're feeling, getting the emotion, getting the. That's when they talk about how line can be an emotional thing. So we're going to take a look at how specifically Degas, Edgar Degas, is one of my very favorite artists. I've done several paintings in his style, some almost direct recreations. Um, don't be fooled by the fact that they use these cutesy little characters, and I don't know why she has a mustache. That's kind of interesting. That's weird. But, don't be fooled by those. It's this all this content is written at a high school level, so it is really valuable. What you're going to be able to do, what you're going to be able to learn, we're going to kind of boil down this big huge list of things to three or four of the most important. That is how you're going to identify and use line in creating a work. How you're going to recognize how another artist has used it. How you're going to interpret that and how you can use it also in yours. Um, the media, we're not really going to. We're going to use Chrome Canvas. I'm going to use Chrome Canvas, or I might actually use Sketchbook this next week. But you all can use Chrome Canvas, Sketchpad. But if you do have those different media, that's excellent. But we won't focus on that specifically this week. How you can identify personal ideas and emotions. That's one of the things we want to focus on. This one right here, if the little mouse is lighting up, I hope it is. Identify personal ideas or emotions. Um, express ideas about myself or others in artwork. That's those are right there together. So I don't know how we would delineate those, but that's kind of what we're going to be focused on. How you can use line to capture a gesture of a person. How you can use line to create the idea of emotion or the feeling um, of movement. Someone's creating movement. And then, last but not least, how we can express ideas about myself or others in artwork. So, all those kind of tie together, but that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to jump over some of those things that, yeah, media and two-dimensional work of art. Some of these just kind of happen naturally. We're not going to focus on. Oh my, Edgar Degas. Yeah, I do love this artist. So Degas was a famous French artist born in Paris in 1834. Well known for creating all kinds of artwork like paintings, sculptures, drawings, sketches, and prints. Seen as a master of capturing movement in his artwork, and that's why we're focusing on him when we talk about these gesture drawings. And again, these tie into how we're going to create our graphic novels, and as we develop that gestural, if we do animation, if you do animation with your characters, you're going to know about how you can create those gestural drawings. He was seen as a master of capturing those movement in his artworks, but most of his artistic career captured the movement of dancers. We're going to look at a lot of his ballet dancers. Considered one of the founders of Impressionism, and Impressionism was this art movement that featured captured the mood, the light, over and really getting a feeling for the space over trying that capture that realism. Passed away in Paris, 1917. So Impressionism, an artistic style that was popular in the 19th century. A group of artists in Paris, France. Degas, Monet, Manet. You had Pizarro. I mean, yeah, there's a ton of great painters coming out of this specific area at this specific time, and they were fortunate to have lots of good patrons who were able to kind of propel this particular movement. This style of painting is characterized by specific elements, the way they use their brush strokes, bold use of brush strokes. You wanted to be able to see those brush strokes, and you wanted to be able to, really accentuate the line with your brush stroke. When we looked at how they used an emphasis on light, capturing the light, and how the light creates shape, was again a bigger emphasis than capturing the realism. They wanted that light. How did the light actually capture the space? Movement again, particularly in Degas paintings, we see a lot of movement. We see a lot of effort to capture someone in the act of doing something, even if it's something simple like tying a shoe or stretching. And so he would just really try to capture when capturing that little bit of movement. It's almost like you capture that moment, and that's sort of what he focused on. Move to the rhythm. Degas enjoyed capturing the movement of ballerinas in his artwork. As they moved, he would capture that rhythm and a movement. When we talk about rhythm, we're really talking about that repeated element in a work of art. Here, it's that repeated dancer shape. And even though they kind of move around a little bit, we see that sort of repeated shape, the torso, and then the tutu or whatever, the little skirt, if you will. And so that it kind of makes a triangle shape, and then we sort of have this reverse triangle shape that creates the torso, and that's repeated through all these dancers, whether they're kind of tilting or whether they're straightened up. So we get that rhythm that's created. When we get that rhythm, we get that movement. And then our eyes start to see one, then we see the other one, then the other one. And if they get smaller back into space, our eyes would follow them. If they create a line within the floor, we will follow them as they go through that line. And here we're kind of following where they are literally pointing. When our eyes typically enter a painting on the left-hand side, and we use that eye movement, and Degas captures it, he goes, oh, they're going to start looking here, and he brings our eye just straight across into this focal point, which is this young lady really that's looking back. And so if we see the movement he's created there, not only is he using the tilt, the literal movement of the ballerinas, he's using the movement of her eye within the painting to kind of bring us back into the center. This bright light kind of captures, and we see this kind of brings us back into this space here. I like that painting very much. 4 dancers in the foyer. Degas used gestural lines and small brushstrokes to create movement in this painting of ballerinas. What path do your eyes take when you look? And again, anytime we're talking about movement in a painting, we want to look at that path. Where do our eyes go? Where do they follow? And there's a couple different things that go on in this painting. You know, we're kind of captured here by the circle of these 3 women kind of talking. Whenever you see people engage with each other, we're kind of almost kind of brought into that trap. But with using this color, he's kind of invited our eyes to come up to this path into this sort of singular figure that is almost looks like it's a passage, you know, into the other room. When we studied this before, it was discussed that it kind of looked like this could be a reflection of this woman. But if it's a reflection of this woman, have we lost these two to this? And where would this lady be? And so it appears as though we're looking through this space. And so all of these, the alignment of the feet and the skirts here, this almost makes a sort of an arrow, if you will, the way that these skirts line up. And again, that kind of points us generally sort of into this area. Just like art, music has rhythm too. What kind of music do you think the ballerinas are listening to while dancing? You know, there's probably some clues that we can get from the way her hands are up and then she's on point. And then last but not least on this is how Degas used these gestural lines to create artworks. And so when artists are creating these little gestural drawings, they time themselves very often. Degas would do this. Picasso was big about doing these types of things. And it's really a time-honored tradition where artists will limit themselves, like what kind of gesture can I capture in just a matter of seconds? Not minutes, but literally seconds. When we talk about process, think about how an artist uses these gesture sketches, these little sketches to just capture quick moments. And when we look Thursday, we're going to look at how we'll start and we'll create this process. We've got just the little lines maybe that distinguish where our bones are that we kind of put into motion. How we just capture how the body fits over those bones quickly in motion. And then how we can develop and build that into more of a more finished drawing. Practice makes perfect. Practice makes consistent. If you practice poorly, you'll draw poorly. Same way with anything else for that matter. So we want to practice, but we want to also make sure we're practicing productively. And so very often we get caught in one of those little eddies, I call them. If you use a paddle and you row on a canoe, it makes a little eddy, a little spiral, where it just kind of spins around. And sometimes we get caught in those as artists. We find something we really like to do. We do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and we don't think outside that little thing of we really like and we're good at. I think about manga characters very often, and I've had some students who were really good at that. But then when it came time to do sketches and do gesture sketches, all of their sketches kept going back to looking like manga characters. And so think about how you can sketch and just capture those movements in a way that you can develop those into just about any type of thing. And this is what we're talking about, how this look. And when I say using those sketchbooks and drawing all the time, you should be sketching constantly. I use Post-it notes all the time. I love these things. Because not every drawing is something you want to keep. These are nice. I toss them all the time. I do little sketches. But my favorite thing to do is anytime we're in a meeting, it annoys a lot of people around me because I do little sketches of it. Just little, and not sketches that they take home and show, look, oh, this looks like me. It's just their head in the position their head would be in, the tilt of their shoulders, the tilt of the back, where the spine would be, and their legs crossed. and it's like that could be anything, and so they don't love it. But it's how you practice capturing those movements and those gestures, and then understanding how perspective works. Once you start capturing these gestural movements, you'll start recognizing that when the arm is pointed at you, you see that foreshortening. It looks shorter than it really is. That sort of thing. As you've learned, artists use different types of lines to express different types of emotions. Look closely at the kinds of lines they use to create these two gestural sketches, and what kinds of lines did Degas use in each sketch? What emotion do you think each line expresses? So let's take a look for a second. If we just look and think about the emotion, neither one of these look particularly excited, right? She's kind of dancing here, and we see her. She's not quite on point, maybe getting there. She's got her arms up. We can see there's a pleasant smile. The energy that you can kind of see captured in those gestural lines, with her arms being sort of up, but we don't see her hands and fingers extended. They're kind of calm and brought it back in. If we look at where the curve of the back might be, it's not like her back is arched as if she's trying to make the most exciting movement she can. We see it sort of arched as if she's kind of creating this very calm, again, soothing, maybe dance motion. And again, her feet aren't doesn't look like she's up jumping, doing something crazy. And so we can almost get a sense that the music is probably soft and maybe fairly slow at that time. When we look at this gesture drawing, we see that they guys use a lot of these lines. We talk about contour lines. You got contour lines draw on the outside contour, the shape of his jacket here, but also the outside contour shape of the arm here, the contour lines of the hat. We see these contour lines that kind of show us the curve of that shoulder there as well. Crosshatch lines here, as we got lines going in one direction, lines come back in the other. He's using that to create value. So we can see how he's used different types of line. And then we can kind of see how the lines used particularly to capture the expression on the face are sort of solemn. The tilt of the head, he's captured. If you notice, the head is kind of tilted down. That's part of that gesture, and he's even accentuated that. The hat probably doesn't actually curve, but he's kind of shown us that is the implied movement is that sort of curve leaning forward with the arms bent, hands in the pocket. Again, not an exciting pose. He's capturing in this sort of moment of maybe silent reflection. He looks like he's kind of looking down. And again, the legs look like they aren't moving. He's standing in the same place, that sort of thing. So what do we spot? Curve and flowy lines. Try to capture that movement. Yep, we talked about that. Yep, very calm. It's definitely a calm painting. This guy is very still. You can capture the stillness has been captured. All right. Tense or curious? I don't think he looks tense. I don't know. I don't get tense from that. I think I get more calm, solitude. He's kind of in deep reflection there. All right, we're almost getting to the part where we're going to do our studio time. We're going to talk a little bit about what we're going to do this week. We're going to take a look at how we capture movement in the human figure. I've got some little models. If you were with us last year, we did this last year in a couple classes. It's really fun, I think. But I'll pose them. Maybe we're going to make little tutus for them so you can kind of get that ballerina feel. And we're going to do some Degas-inspired ballerina drawing. So don't pay too much attention to this. It's going to be sort of related to these directions. Bring a pencil, paper, sketch pad. If you got pastels, that's what you really want to use. It's Degas. He used a lot of pastels, charcoal, toned paper. Fantastic. If you don't have any of that, don't worry about it. We'll use chrome canvas, sketch pad, or any other digital media you have. All right. Thank you, guys. Hold on. I got to take a roll.